Muted.
Okay. Oh, we are live. Sorry, everyone. We're just waiting for the numbers, just as people start to enter into the chat. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the first Make an Impact talk. My name is Shima Langan. I'm currently a third-year student studying international relations and development, and I'm very honored to be the first moderator for this talk series. This initiative was started by Aishna Shah, and it seeks to inspire university students to pursue careers where they can have a positive impact in the world. Our aim is to have these talks act as a useful resource to listen to and be inspired by those who have pursued leadership and positive change within their respective field. So each of our speakers this week have had diverse experiences in the workplace and will apply a unique lens on what impact means to them. So in the coming week, we will be featuring entrepreneurs, CEOs, executive directors, sustainability managers, and United Nations officers. So I would highly advise you check those talks out as well. But please also keep in mind that these talks are being recorded on YouTube and Facebook. So if you would like to access them in the future, you can do so. With all of that being said, I'm very honored to invite our first guest speaker this week, Yupka Mitrinovska, to talk more about herself and her career journey supporting social entrepreneurship. A brief introduction about Yupka. She co-founded Accelerate 2030 in 2016, a program that was born out of Impact Hub Geneva, which is part of a global network that connects more than 16,000 entrepreneurs into a collaborative ecosystem across more than 100 impact hubs worldwide. Now, Accelerate 2030, in partnership with the UN Development Program, currently serves as the world's largest program connecting impact-driven entrepreneurs to the Sustainable Development Goals. What I think is unique about Yupka is that she identified quite early on the central role of innovation and entrepreneurship in helping solve a lot of our development challenges. And I know as a development student, it can often feel quite overwhelming and frankly quite hopeless trying to address some of the issues that we learn about in the classroom. So because of that, I think Accelerate 2030 is a really great example of how passionate individuals, like the ones Yupka is trying to support, are trying to implement sustainable and scalable business solutions to addressing some of these development challenges. Now, the talk will be structured with the presentation from Yupka, which will be lasting around 25 minutes, and that will be followed by a Q&A session where you, the audience, can have some of your questions answered. But we do want to keep this as interactive as possible. So if at any point during her presentation a question pops into your mind, please do put it into the comment section and we will try to address it as the presentation goes along. Finally, I wanted to quickly premise that any inappropriate comments, hate, or discrimination will not be tolerated, and that by signing up for this event, we have agreed to comply with the Sussex Student Union's zero tolerance policy. So now that we've gotten through all the housekeeping matters, Yupka, the floor is yours whenever you are ready.
Thank you so much, Shima. Thank you for the very kind introduction, and thank you for this invitation. It's been a really interesting personal reflection exercise to think about this talk and structure a little bit my life and career journey in a way that can resonate with people that are embarking on their own. I will try to share my screen, hopefully successfully. Just a moment. I hope that works. Or it didn't. Then I lose the sight of you. But that's fine. Can you follow? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Great. Yes, I'm Lyubka Litvinovska. I've been involved in building and running Accelerate 2030, which, as Shima explained, became to be one of the world's maybe largest programs around entrepreneurship and sustainable development goals or positive impact. But however grand this can sound, it actually started as a smaller initiative in 2016. And I'm here today to tell you the story of how it came to be, and through that, hopefully inspire you and share some hope. Shima mentioned that especially development students might feel a little bit hopeless when they think about all the challenges that humanity and our planet face. Hopefully through this talk, I also would like to inspire you to think about what a meaningful, impactful career is to you. And especially now that you guys are finishing your studies and you're thinking about what's next in a very, very particular context of a global pandemics. And I'm sure that can be quite challenging and scary. But for me, I've been in your shoes 10 years ago in a maybe more comfortable context without the pandemics being part of it. Yes, hopefully by sharing what we do within Accelerate 2030 and a little bit of my career and life path, I can shed a bit of light of what's coming up. I'm sorry, I will just have to see if I can somehow, and I'm sorry for this, I will just stop sharing my screen and try to open, because I'm losing sight of you and it's not the nicest experience. Let me just see. Sorry for this. Give me just one moment.
No worries.
Shima, can you see my screen at the moment?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
While we wait for you to set that up, would it be helpful to ask the audience where they're coming in from, what they're studying?
So one of our intentions actually during this talk was to make it as interactive as possible. Shima said that I will be presenting at the beginning, but actually what I would really love to do is to have you guys involved as much as possible. So if we can already start collecting your first hi and where are you joining from, this would be great because this is okay, sorry for that. Because this is our space to share and to be together today. Okay, so something happened. I hope that you guys can still follow. Yes, we're there. Okay, cool. Just a moment. Okay. So yeah, What we're covering today, to give you a little bit of the framing while you guys are checking in, I understand that you have the ability to check in through Facebook and YouTube. So let's just use that as a chat option. We can actually directly see it here on the streaming platform. So it would be really great to hear who you are, where are you checking in from, and what are you studying. It will also give us a bit of context of what is useful for you during this conversation today. So what I will cover today in my talk is how we can look at generating impact through entrepreneurship. We will talk a little bit about the Sustainable Development Goals because they will be a thread throughout the conversation. And I would also like to use this opportunity to share some of the lessons that I've learned going through my path, like the power of stepping out of comfort zones, getting to know yourself and be true to yourself, going the extra mile or the extra kilometer. We will talk about that as well. And the power of networks and human relationships, as well as a little bit of looking into what is a job versus a career versus a calling, and where do you want to be in your future. And we will look at some concrete steps to go out and explore a meaningful career right after this talk. And the overarching theme of the conversation today for me is that everyone can drive positive change and generate impact. You have total power and freedom to create your own life journey and your career. And hopefully through these talks this week, you will get some ideas, but in the end, it's your story and it's your journey to create. And me and the other speakers are here to share a little bit of how we lived through that. But then you're embarking on an exciting journey to create one of your own. And to just create a metaphor of what the journey you're embarking on. So I can imagine that now while you're finishing your studies and thinking about the future, and within this context, it might be a bit scary. And it's exciting at the same time. It's like going into a forest that you know that it will be an adventure, but at the same time, you know that there will be some dark spaces, some unknown creatures, and so on. So through this talk, we will try to have a sneak peek into this forest from my perspective and what I've seen going through one. I'm in front of a forest of my own at the moment, but I can tell you a little bit of what I found on the way going through the one that you're facing. So let's dive in. Shima, do we have some input on people that are connected, or you will just ping me on the go?
No, we have a really good selection of people, a lot of students studying international development like myself, some people from Brussels, Greece. We've got a couple who have actually finished their university degree and are looking to implement positive change in their career going forward. So it seems to be quite a diverse group of individuals.
That's great. That's super exciting. Well, guys, the chat is open, so please insert any thoughts or comments or questions that you have, and so that we can have kind of a conversation as we go through. So maybe a bit of a context of what I'm doing and what is Accelerate 2030 and why the organizers thought it would be interesting for you to learn more about it. So yes, Accelerate 2030 is a program that aims to support entrepreneurs, especially from developing and emerging markets, who are tackling issues that are environmentally or socially important that we frame within the Sustainable Development Goals. And we help the ones that really have a promising potential to scale their solutions. We started, as I said, in 2016 as a smaller initiative. At the moment, by now, we have covered more than 24 countries. We've received more than 1,000 applications from different entrepreneurs, showing that there are entrepreneurs that work on these issues and that there is need of such support. We've engaged numerous partners across different sectors and supported more than 200 entrepreneurs in this journey. So again, this can sound and look quite grand, but it took some time and effort to build it this way, and some risk taking. And to tell you a little bit more about the work that we do. So as I said, we scout for the best entrepreneurs. We particularly focus to developing and emerging markets, because we believe that people in the local communities usually hold the best solutions. And also because we believe that through the networks that we can open up, especially out of Geneva, we can help them scale really their impact internationally, especially in connecting to the UN, the corporate sector, and so on. So the way we do it is that we usually run a process that sometimes seems like a competition, but it really is not. It is a program where we do campaign and selection across different countries to find these entrepreneurs that tackle important challenges and that are doing it successfully and that are at a stage of growth and where they want to scale their impact. Then in all the different countries, and here is usually the impact hubs leading the effort together with UNDP country offices and other partners, and I will talk about the impact hub in a moment. And then we put them through a support program where we actually help them to move from one step to the other to the next, so they can really implement their scaling strategy. And then for the ones that really have the highest international potential, we invite them into a global program that we host out of Geneva, where we connect them to a lot of relevant UN agencies, corporates, investors, and other partners to really bring their impact to scale. So this is basically what the program is and what we do in a nutshell. And I'm aware that there might be some questions around it, so please do share. Before I talk about the Impact Hub, maybe quickly referring to the Sustainable Development Goals. If there are a lot of students in development studies, I'm sure that you already know the SDGs quite well. They're also known as the 2030 Agenda. And it's basically the world's largest universal agreement at the moment on what are the most pressing challenges that the humanity and planet face, and an agreement on how we will move until 2030 to progress on all these topics. So they're built on previously the millennial goals, and it's basically all the UN countries. Why I'm saying that is the largest universal agreement is because all the UN countries have signed up to them, and it's been the largest collective effort to actually formulate them. So there are a set of 17 interlinked goals, including no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable energy, and so on. So basically, all these different colorful blocks, and the one that you see behind me, are reflecting one of the Sustainable Development Goals. But their uniqueness is that really, at this point, they're seen as a system, not as something that we can tackle completely in isolation. So I'm sure that some of you might even have something to add on my explanation on the SDGs. We are now in the decade of action. So we have less than 10 years to get there to the commitment. And of course, the pandemic has significantly slowed our progress down. But we definitely all have a role to play. And one important note about the SDGs is, as they are the largest collective agreement, this is not just the business of governments, but this time business is really expected to play a role, NGOs as always, but all of us as individuals as well. So I then mentioned the Impact Hub, and I myself am working with Impact Hub Geneva. And the Impact Hub is actually the leading actor of Accelerate 2030. So Impact Hub, what it is, it's actually a global network building entrepreneurial communities for impact at scale. What this means is that in more than 50 countries, in more than 100 locations, 100 cities, we have physical spaces, which are collaborative co-working spaces where we welcome our members and our community, a lot of them entrepreneurs. And around these spaces, so the spaces are just the meeting point, but we also organize a lot of programs for people to start and grow their businesses. And these are usually businesses with some kind of positive impact. And we organize a lot of convening events, a lot of inspiring events. So it's really a really creative, collaborative space to be, especially for aspiring entrepreneurs.
Sorry, Yuka, we have a question asking how the program is being funded.
Okay, with the tough ones directly. Good. It's been a mixed model over the past few years, and we've had corporate partners on board. We've had local authorities and governments. We've had development agencies. So at the moment, our key partners are the Swiss Development Agency for Cooperation and International Development. Then we have a company, we have Pfizer on board, and we have the MAVA Foundation on board, which is a Swiss foundation with whom we worked in Switzerland on circular economy, which will be a big topic in this next edition of the program. And we're scaling now this knowledge to the rest of the network.
Sorry, Yuka, just for my own understanding and for the sake of the audience, could you briefly explain what circular economy is?
Sure. So circular economy is a concept that is different to linear economy, which is the economy or the economic model which has been prevalent in the last decades, where in that model, it's basically extract, use, dispose. That's how we've treated resources so far. And this is what's created a really big crisis in our natural and social systems. So circularity introduces a circular model where you can imagine, instead of linear, it's trying to have the resources in a loop and trying to have them as long as possible. Meaning that so recycling is something that is maybe the most popular part of it, but it's basically by the circular economy experts advised as the last resort, because then we've again extracted resources, we're recycling them, we're using resources to for that process. But before that, you have the processes of repurposing, refurbishing, building products to last, building reverse logistics processes where the companies selling the products actually have the responsibility to take them back. For example, if you have a printer, you don't use it anymore, instead of disposing of it, you actually in a way rent it from the company and you give it back when you don't use it anymore, so they can repurpose it. Does that give an answer?
Yeah, no, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Great. I have colleagues on the team that are really experts on the field, and I'm sure we will have some open events, and we will gladly share the invitation for you guys to learn more about it, because it's really the way we see the future of the economy. So I spoke about the Impact Hub, and I wanted to share with you, knowing that most of you are students based in the UK, of where the closest Impact Hubs to you. But also, if you go on the global website, I know that a lot of you are across the globe. You can also find what are the other hubs in your region. And hopefully, once we can gather in person, you can go and maybe check out some of them. So, when we were discussing about this call, you also said that maybe entrepreneurship is something that would be interesting to unpack, especially for students that might not be in business studies. And for me, entrepreneurship is a combination between a big vision and a big action. So it's not just about someone having the idea of what they want to change in the world, but actually making the steps to make it happen. And there are several elements involved in that. There's definitely a lot of vision and passion, which I call an itch. So these are people that really are passionate about something and they really want to see it changed or solved or improved. And this is something that really drives them. There is definitely innovation, and there's a viable business model. This means that it's not just about the idea and doing things, but there is a combination between a good operational model and a financial model. And there's a lot of risk taking, there's a lot of persistence, there's a lot of failure and rising back. But there's also a lot of reward of proving it's possible and really making a shift. So then connected to entrepreneurship, and when we talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, sustainable development, we very often talk about impact-driven entrepreneurship or social entrepreneurship. We tend to use impact-driven because social can have negative nuance in some societies. But this is basically entrepreneurship or business where the business model and impact model meet. And the main purpose of the business is to actually tackle an issue, like, I don't know, waste issue, education, anything, water and sanitation. And they do it by using business models and business thinking. So there has to be some revenue generation in order to finance the operations, but the impact is really at the foresight. So they go together. So with that, I hope we've said a little bit kind of the major concepts, and we're already, I feel like time is melting. So, but now that we've talked about the major concepts, what is more interesting is maybe going through examples of entrepreneurs. And I would like to share the story of Sampangan from Indonesia, who are tackling a huge problem of waste. And instead of me talking about it, I would actually play a video that explains the problem and their solution. Oh, sorry. Are you not able to see the video?
No.
Okay, let me
present.
Let me then share.
Is it in the Chrome tab?
Because it opens in another tab. So let me then share this other tab. Just a moment. Sorry. Give me a moment.
No worries.
Okay. It seems like you can see it now, right? So I will just...
yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. Okay, so let me just, in case, go back to sharing screen. Are we back?
That's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
Oh, but now it seems that you're seeing my whole screen. Let's try this again. Were you seeing actually? Yeah.
I saw it for a split second, and I think you just share the Chrome tab.
Yes, let's do this. Okay. I think we're back.
That's perfect.
Great. So that was one of the companies that we've supported in the last cycle of Accelerate 2030, Sampangan from Indonesia. And hopefully from that video, you got to see the problem and the solution that they developed. So basically, it's this technology that in Geneva we started calling the magic box, that can very efficiently process waste into many byproducts that are then useful in agriculture and other uses. And the entrepreneur is Fawzal Rizki, who actually left a job in the financial sector to pursue this technology, which his father developed previously. So they're this family team that is really moving the needle on the waste treating problem in Indonesia. And through Accelerate 2030, they met entrepreneurs from Brazil working on organic biofertilizers, and they're now setting up a joint venture between Indonesia and Brazil, which has been really a great byproduct of the program.
Sorry, so, kind of going off of that, we have one question asking what your advice is to young business-minded individuals who have done a degree in something such as international relations and have limited experience and the capital funds, but would like to get started on their ideas.
That's a great question. And I actually propose a model of what you guys can do at the end of the presentation. But I would say start with a good research of who are the organizations working in this field. Don't be hesitant to reach out and approach those very proactively. Whoever is the dream organization that you would ideally see yourself working with. And start building a bit of experience, even if it's through volunteering and internships. Start from somewhere to get a taste and see if first of all, is that what you would really, really love to do? And then build up some experience so that you can open up a pathway in that sector. But I hope to get to talk a little bit more on that as we move through.
Thank you.
Great. I will go back to sharing my screen. Great. Yes, what we've done with Accelerate 2030 is that we've connected development challenges with business people and business solutions, and we brought that together, believing that really entrepreneurs and businesses can be a force for good, and that they can be really efficient in solving any problem that we face. So that was kind of the idea and the mission of Accelerate 2030. And since Accelerate 2030 is something that is now present for me and in my career, I wanted to share briefly with you what it took to get there. So what were the different stages of the journey, especially that hearing about this work, you might think, oh, you need to be an activist or an entrepreneur your whole life to actually do this kind of work. Well, I was neither one of them. And still I'm here, and I'm running one of a really big program on this topic. So hopefully through my story, starting from a tiny country in the Balkans to here, I would be able to convince you that everything is possible. I will now dive into my personal story of how I got here. And share some lessons from the journey. So I was born in the late 80s in the middle of the Balkans in Macedonia, now renamed to North Macedonia. In a context where it was part then of a really powerful federation, Yugoslavia, who at that point started going into dissolution. And with that, the whole society got a little bit confusing because a lot of the traditional values were being lost. There was this transition process that was initiated. So for young people and for my generation, it was quite confusing to kind of come up with what is really a role model of what a successful career is and what a successful person is. So And then, so we were living in a context where there was a bit of a transition and departure of traditional values, but also some new role models that appeared was finding the shortcuts, people that can make quick money, a lot of materialism, and so on. So that, but then I was raised in a family of really young parents. Both of them spent their whole careers in the military. And I was raised with these values of honesty and hard work. And actually, one of the major kind of mottos at our home was that only above average efforts yield above average results, and everything below that would yield just below average results. So the paradigm was do the extra work, go the extra mile. And this, to a really large extent, defined my work ethics and my drive in life. I remember there was a moment where, in terms of professional ambition, I was not thinking so much, and I was not a child that knew what they were going to be. But I remember a moment when we were supposed to write an essay on the topic of what we want to be when we grow up. And there was a segment on the UN on TV, and I was curious about what that is. So my dad explained what the UN does, and for me that was super impressive. So my essay was on me wanting to work for the UN one day. And I kind of forgot about that, but it's interesting to see then how the paths move, and how yes, even some really innocent intentions turn out to meet us on our pathway. In terms of my studies, it was a little bit of kind of negotiation with myself and with my surrounding of what a good choice is. I personally really was interested in psychology, languages. I really loved reading and writing and so on. But there was this kind of notion in our society that you should go for studies that will secure a good job, that will secure a good living. So at that point, my compromise was to go for the Faculty of Economics and the newly opened department on electronic business, which sounds very cool, very sexy. And actually, it was a great experience because I got to learn a lot, and it was quite practical. And it also it was quite a competitive environment. And in that kind of competitive environment, I was always thinking, what is the next step? Because I knew that I was going to face a job market where there would be a lot of competition. So already while I was in my studies, I started looking for the first working experiences. So I would join student organizations, business incubators, and so on, to actually try myself out and learn some new skills. And actually, this was really the case, because even in a student organization like AIESEC, I learned my first sales skills. I had to go to restaurants and sell sponsorships for the incoming exchange students, and so on. But then the working experiences that really kind of marked my further journey were the ones at the National Center for Development of Innovation and Entrepreneurial Learning, that was also known as the Business Startup Center, where I honestly started with putting up posters in the faculties for the upcoming competitions and trainings and so on. But then I quickly progressed. We were a small team. It was an amazing working atmosphere. And because there was very few people and a lot of work to be done, they very quickly started throwing me in the fire and giving me like bigger responsibilities. Some of them even holding trainings to a group of entrepreneurs while I was at my last year of studies, which I was really feeling intimidated to do. But then I did it. I designed the first trainings. They were not good at all, the first few. But then I learned from that experiences and I improved. And it turned out to be a really rewarding one. I would also work on multiple EU projects, fly around Europe and so on. So it was a very interesting, exciting first experience. So what I learned from these first experiences, as I was saying to the question that was asked, is to try yourself out early and in different areas. because it's really important to see what really resonates with you. Sometimes we end up in studies for multiple years, and then we go out and we try it out, and it's not really what sparks joy. So try yourself out early and in different areas. Connected to that, be curious and discover and get out of your immediate bubble. At university, we usually cluster and group, and we are comfortable in staying in these groups. So just go out and explore what's out there. Do the extra mile. So put in the extra effort, because it pays out. It's a learning experience, but also that's how people remember you and how they appreciate you. And take challenges as an opportunity to learn. In my case, I was really, really intimidated to do some of those trainings or to go to some of those partner meetings across Europe. But because I had the opportunity to try it, I actually could realize that I'm capable of doing it. If I never did it, I would not know that. Yes, trust yourself and the process. I will make a stopping point here because there's still quite some content, Shima, but I'm aware that maybe there are some questions.
I think one question that comes to mind for me is how, as a third-year development student, and I'm graduating soon, like how integral do you think it is to be getting work experience and internships during your university career? Is that something that you think, because obviously we do want to be dipping into different sectors, but it's also a lot of money and a lot of effort. So how important do you find that that is in your career journey?
I mean, for me, this was the last year of studies when I really took up more responsible commitments, but it really defined the next phase of the start of my career, because I could have ended up also working in a bigger software company, as I was thinking that maybe with what I studied I would do, or doing marketing and so on. But having these very practical experiences actually was what made me fall in love with entrepreneurship, because I could see firsthand what it means to work with these people. Who are these people? How do you design support processes and so on? So I understand the dilemma between the commitment towards the studies versus taking out some time to try yourself out practically. But I would very strongly encourage it. At Accelerate 2030, we very often work with students from the local universities, and it's really a big learning experience for them, and they even take it as a basis for their thesis, which would be great if you already find something that you're really interested about. You connect it to your thesis, and then you connect with the steps coming onwards.
Thank you. We've got a couple other questions. In line with internships and volunteering, how long should it take for that phase? Sorry.
I'm not sure I understand if the question is around how long does it take to find an internship, or how long does an internship take usually?
I don't want to speak on behalf of Eunice. Eunice, if you'd like to clarify your question.
I can answer actually both. So finding an internship, that can be really different. If there's an open announcement that you're already applying to, then the timeline is already set. If you're proactively looking for something, that I would also strongly encourage, then it can be really different. And here we have the elements of luck and serendipity and so on. But I will share in a little moment how I approach that process. And hopefully you can pick up some tips and try it out. And you tell me how much time it took on your side.
Sorry, I guess just going off of that is, do you have any advice for those who are finding it difficult to get into work experience or finding internships and to constantly face repeated rejection? I think that's a concern that a lot of us have, and it can be quite, yeah.
I mean, I can imagine that it's a very competitive market out there. I'm totally empathic to that. And especially in this context now, when you can't really network and go and meet people and present yourself personally. I'm sorry, I will just go off the screen share mode, because I will actually just skip then and just show you what I did when I was coming to a new country where I didn't know people, and I had to kind of reestablish myself or reinvent myself. Basically at that point, I just found an application that could pull out the information from my LinkedIn profile, and it created a nice website. I created videos for the jobs that I was really interested in. Okay, sorry. Is it the case that you can't present, that you can't view? For the jobs that I was really interested in, I would actually even prepare a video. I would do a really thorough research on what they do. And when I would write to them, it would not be a generic application because they opened an announcement. And of course, I would apply to announcements. But even then, I would take the extra step to make a very dedicated page, present really good materials, research a little bit about what the organization does, already suggest maybe some things or projects that they could be taking up, just showing that you understand what they're doing, that you really care about what they do, and that you could actually be a really important asset. We've run a few recruitment processes on our side, and honestly, the candidates that stand out are the ones that really can tick these boxes that I just mapped. I hope that helps a little bit.
I think, sorry, I am aware of time, so I'm wondering if we should start answering directly some of the questions that are coming in. We've got one that's quite interesting. It's asking about the biggest challenges in your field at the moment and how you've managed to overcome those obstacles.
Biggest obstacles in the field of our work, I imagine.
I think that's
yeah. Well, we're facing the pandemics, which really distorted a lot of the work that has been underway, and especially of the entrepreneurs that we support and some of the plans that they've had. Let me just stop sharing screen. That has definitely been a big hurdle, in our case, we've been quite lucky actually, because we took 2020 as a year to prepare for the next edition, and we're only launching now in 2021 the next edition across 24 countries. So the type of challenges that we face as a program is, of course, ensuring the resources so that we can continuously do the work that we do, ensuring that our team is well and is not on the edge of burnout with all the work that we need to do as a small team running a big program. Making sure that we can design support that is valuable and relevant to entrepreneurs. Now looking at how can we support them in coping with the effects of the pandemics, how can they respond to the pandemics, which a lot of them are doing, and a lot of them actually did really great, even with the difficult circumstances. So yes, basically a lot of adaptation and reinvention and agility in the time of such crisis, which is the entrepreneurial approach to things.
I think there are quite a few questions just asking about, because of the current climate with the COVID-19 pandemic, there does seem to be a lot of insecurity about getting the necessary experience or breaking into a sector. For example, if someone was interested in breaking into the entrepreneurial sector, but it feels like now is not really the time to be doing that. And if you had how would you go about doing so if you were in this situation yourself? I know it's quite a loaded question, but I think it's something that I can relate to myself as well.
Okay, so basically the question is this the time to take the entrepreneurial path for those that
didn't maybe not necessarily just in the entrepreneurial sector, but if you wanted to speak to both just generally, but also within the entrepreneurial sector?
I think, I mean, it's very similar to what we were just discussing with the previous question of actually just going out there and seeing what there is and trying out. And actually, I will now just go to the end of my presentation where I was sharing a little bit of how I would see some concrete steps in embarking on an impactful career. So let me just share my screen again. Okay, hopefully you can see. Oops. So just a moment. There we go. So what I would suggest for anyone that is looking into how do they break in, what do they do? And especially if you want to do something that is really aligned to your deepest passions, to your deepest values, to something that would really spark joy in the future for you, then these are a few steps that I propose. First of all, find an issue that you're really passionate about. There must be something that you really care about. It either sparks a lot of joy for you or it produces a lot of frustration for you. You want to see it changed. You want to see it fixed. Then do a little bit of research. Is someone working on it? For sure, a lot of organizations are already doing some work around that. Can you join them? What are they doing? Are they near you? Even if they're not in this context, it's really easy to connect with people virtually. If you don't find that anyone working on that issue is doing it well, and if you want to try it yourself, I mean, there's never a good timing. And usually how entrepreneurs start, or how anyone starts, is that you can pursue a more secure path and be in a more secure job or just pursuing your studies. But then already start trying, testing, prototyping something, giving it a go, especially if you have an entrepreneurial itch, if you want to try yourself out, start taking the first steps. And then there is a lot of trial and error on the way. So trial and learn and just take challenges as an opportunity to grow. Build collaborations and networks around yourself, because impact does not happen in isolation. It's always great if you have more people or more organizations that are working towards the same mission. And then persist. So like just move forward, have this unlimited positive regard, as if it is called in coaching, just, positive realism. So basically what I would invite everyone to do now, because we're approaching the end, and just to make it a little bit more interactive, is let's just type in your chat box on whatever platform you are, what is really one issue on one topic that you're really passionate about or interested in, and that you would like to tackle or see solved. So just type it, but don't press enter just yet. So we'll give you a few seconds to do that. And then we will ask you to press at the same time. And we will be able in the comments to see it as a waterfall coming in of all your comments. So ready? Press. Okay. I think that there is a little bit of delay, so we will just wait for a few seconds between the platforms. So there's education, food waste, waste in fashion sector, education for the unprivileged, healthcare, psychological impacts of trauma in refugees, travel tourism sector, more environmentally friendly, climate change, dirty wars, labor migration. Okay, so this is all fascinating, what you guys are thinking about. And I know there are at least 5 organizations for each one of the topics that you just mapped that are working on this. So how about the first next step right after this call is checking out what are the organizations that work on these topics, and If you find one of them really exciting, sending them an email proactively without, even if there's no announcement open, proactively with a little bit of research of how you would see the work in that sector, what would you like to contribute, even doing a little creative video and reaching out and just see what happens. Would that be maybe one little opening gateway for you to test out a passion of your own? Or in the very least case, for you, it will be an opportunity to learn more about the topic that you're interested in.
I think it's also important to mention that some of the topics that have been mentioned in the comments are also ones that the speakers this coming week will also be touching upon. So I do highly advise you guys check out the speakers that we have planned for this week, especially climate change and the refugee crisis. We do have speakers talking about those topics specifically. So yeah.
Yes, and there is a team of entrepreneurs from Costa Rica Insect Company, now called CIBO, that have been supported through Accelerate 2030, that I think they're talking on Thursday. And they talk about producing food protein from insects. So it is within sustainable food systems. So do go and check out their talk.
Thank you, Yupka. Sorry, I'm very aware that we've only got a couple minutes left, so I think we do need to wrap up the question and answer part of this talk. I do just want to quickly share my screen so the audience is aware of some additional resources that we have. 2 seconds. Can you see that? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
So just for some Sussex students, if you're interested in learning more about entrepreneurship, we do have resources at the university that you can look at. So the link that's been attached is something you can go click on and learn more about. And also, there is a career equity project that's being led by our Students' Union, which is aimed at enhancing career development for students of marginalized communities. They are going to be putting on some additional talks in the coming week, so I highly recommend you check out that link. And just so you know, this page will be made available to you later on. And finally, we have the Make It Happen event with Sussex alumni, which is essentially just panels of Sussex graduates working in different sectors. So very similar to what this talk was today. So if you're interested, please check out these resources because I think they will be really, really helpful. So that is everything from me. Yeah, it's been attached into the comment section as well. And Ella, the talk about insects will be on Thursday, I believe, at 1 p.m. Anyway, thank you all so much for coming. I hope that was helpful. Thank you, Yupka, for coming. I found your talk really, really insightful. And we really do appreciate having you on. So thank you again.
Thank you very much for the invitation. For me, this was a really small piece that we covered today, but hopefully we might have other opportunities to cover a bit more and a few more of the insights. And I will also share a few links and a few books that I would, and people to follow that I would recommend for anyone that is interesting to take a deep dive on the theme. And good luck, everyone. It's an exciting time ahead of you, and I'm sure you will all build some really, really exciting stories. Hold on in there, and good luck with everything.
And if you'd like to refer back to this recording later on, it will be made available on YouTube and Facebook, as will the other talks coming up throughout the week. But yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Aishna, as well, for putting on such an inspiring initiative. It is really, really lovely to see what you've done, and I think the feedback has been really good as well.